Yo, what up, it's Don.
Samuel here.
Totally redeemed yourself.
Snap Boys.
We are the Snap Boys, back up in it.
Soul Squadron, how are you guys?
Talking shoes, that's what we do.
Yes, so we want to talk about specifically the question, is tech important in a shoe? We would say it depends. But mostly, not really. So tech usually is what? I would say probably like materials mostly and cushion. Maybe I guess like not really fit. There's the 360 FLYKNIT or whatever that's supposed to help with fit, but that not really. If it doesn't fit well, it doesn't fit well. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't really help more, I guess, like variety of widths or whatever, sizes of feet, just because it's 360 FLYKNIT. But anyways, the reason we're doing this video is because some people always have this hang up of like, oh, but this, you know, they ask a question like, oh, should I get this shoe or this shoe? And I say, oh, get this shoe. But then they're like, oh, but this has FLYKNIT or this has this cushion versus this. But so they get hung up on that just because it's a technology, and a lot of the times the technology that companies have is there to sell to us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's just like any other company or business that's trying to sell you something. A lot of times, especially with the heavyweights, there's a lot of different words being used. A lot of different gimmicks. You know, Apple's the king of this with the Retina display, Super Retina display.
Exactly.
So it's like sometimes, you know, it's very, very valid to be promoting some of the tech they promote, but other times it can be a gimmick, and it could also be not even implemented right. And sometimes it's implemented and it's like, why is it even written on the shoe? You can't even feel it or experience it. So yeah, it's definitely tricky. And then there'll be you know, normal tech that they don't really advertise as being anything special,
which is actually pretty nice.
Yeah,
you know, and like that's why sometimes in our performance reviews, we don't really care too much on like what the actual cushion or tech is. We're, you know, sometimes we're like, is there a zoom unit in here? You know, we don't really care too much for that. We just care how it feels. You know what I'm saying? Like, is it soft? Is it bouncy? Is it impact protection good? That's what we try to convey to you guys and explain to you guys how the shoe actually feels.
To compare it again to phones really quick, specs aren't everything.
Yes.
Right? Specs are great, but that does not mean it's going to be a fantastic phone.
Yes. Like,
how's the user experience? How does it work for you?
This guy's a tech geek. We're both tech geeks, you know what I'm saying? So that's why we kind of understand, you know, but, so for example, the Jordan Superfly something, and I think it was a 2017, right?
Yeah, 2017.
Yeah, 2017, and this is the shoe with, I think, one of the first basketball shoes with React.
The first,
aside from, I guess, the Hyperdunk, which also had React. And React was, did we have a React shoe that, the Epic Reacts, right? I think that's when we had Epic React.
Yeah, which are incredible. And we were like, wow, React is really crazy.
Yes. But then it was a React Core, but then they still marketed it as React, you know, so pretty heavily, and we tried it and it's like, it's not that nice, you know what I'm saying? So that's one, you know, example of tech not being too important. Also, another shoe, you know, both of these shoes have Phylon. Both of these shoes have Phylon midsoles. The Kyrie 3 actually has a zoom unit in the heel, but the zoom unit you cannot feel at all. You can actually see the zoom unit here, that is kind of like this through this little window. But this is one of the stiffest cushions I've ever played in, the Kyrie 3, you know? But this is also a Phylon, but it's actually, there's a little bit of compression, feels pretty nice, and impact protection is a lot better in the Fly Lockdown than in the Kyrie 3. And they're both pretty much Phylon midsoles. But for some reason, Nike, I guess maybe they changed up the compound a little bit or something for this to be a little bit softer. I don't know. But they still both call it a Phylon midsole, which is, you know, so there's that. Another example I would say is, I guess, like Boost. You know, these are both Boost, but they're implemented differently, so they feel different. You know what I'm saying? So just because one shoe says it has one thing, doesn't mean it's gonna all feel the same in different types of shoes. You know what I'm saying? So that's cushion. Also, materials can go the same way, I would say. You know, but I don't know, like, what do you call it? Nike and Adidas don't really push FLYKNIT and PrimeKnit too much anymore.
Yeah.
Like they used to a few years ago. Like, they used to be like, oh, this is a new FLYKNIT, this has a new FLYKNIT or whatever. But for some reason, I don't really think they do that anymore.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like, they'll often use PrimeKnit or FLYKNIT in a nice variation.
And they don't say it.
And they don't even mention it. And it's like, this is actually really nice PrimeKnit. Why don't you mention that it is that?
Like, for example, in this, I think they just call it a textile, which is weird. But, yeah, so there are different types of knits, different types of FLYKNITs or whatever, meshes, EMs, you know, like Nike shit mesh. You know, there's shit mesh, but they just call it a mesh. And there's some actually nice feeling mesh like EM, which they do call EM, but it feels totally different. Yeah, so if you guys have any questions on shoes and stuff, you guys can of course always ask us, DM us on Instagram, you know, SoulBrothers_IG. You guys can follow us there. But yeah, tech is not everything in the shoe. You know, also like a long time ago, you know how Under Armour used to make really cheap shoes but really good performing shoes with like not very good tech, but they just put it together so well. Like the traction was good, cushion wasn't horrible, it had pretty good impact protection but really responsive, and materials were like some synthetic material, but it still like was like soft and supportive, so it wasn't horrible, and for a good price. For a long time, you know, Under Armour kind of killed it.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Price is often a lot of times correlated with tech or the amount of tech, and you know that's also not a good marker of a shoe being really good.
Yes.
I mean, there's a ton of budget shoes that outperform the top tier, top price shoes. So, you know, tech and price, do not let that fool you. It's better to, you know, get a but you know, go try the shoes on in person, see what you think, or watch people like us or Nightwing or whoever else break down for you, you know, with an informed opinion. So
yes, but anyways, that's the video. That's just a little video that we wanted to do for you guys, saying that tech isn't always important. Sometimes it is though, but sometimes it's not. You know what I'm saying? So it all depends. But anyways, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys next one.
Later.
Peace.